Zach, I think local fans are very attentive to the lease situation with the franchise, and in the meantime, there have been several NBA players that have had criticisms of Memphis. Is there a reason that the organization has not responded to any of those criticisms, and is there any further thoughts on what has been said by players like LeBron James, Draymond Green, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I'll give you the unsatisfying answer first. I've been asked that in the past, and as I think you guys know, in my role, my focus is basketball. My lane is basketball, and what I'm focused on day to day is putting this group in the best possible position to win here in Memphis. We want to win here. We love being here. We take a major pride in doing what we do to make sure that we can put the best possible product, on the court here. Beyond that, though, I get it. I understand, the sentiment, whether it's a player or an influencer or whatever, there's this, is someone gonna say something, right? And what I can say, that we're in the middle of a lease renegotiation, and I see the people who are involved, in that space. The focus is on action. We could put out some hollow statement, that doesn't mean anything, but that's not a good use of anyone's time, and that's not actually constructive at the end of the day. I have enough of a lens into this to see that the people who are working with the city and trying to put everything, the focus is on improving downtown, putting everything in a position where we're in the best possible spot in Memphis going forward. That is the goal. The goal is to win here, to do it at the highest level here, and to be, leaders in putting the city in the best possible position. That's all everyone's focused on.
Going into the summer, I guess, what are some of the things that you're going to prioritize when you think about rounding out this roster in its future outlook?
Yeah, I think certainly there's a lot of work to be done. I think in general, there's going to be a focus on adding talent and fit, guys who fit the mold that we're trying to play in, where we think the game is going. It's not necessarily going to be, a perfect fit with the group that we have now, because I think there's a lot of guys who are going to be part of this going forward, but there's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of work to do. I think so much of it is, we have a lot of guys who are bought in and are going about things the right way. I think there's going to be, some tough decisions, along the way as we try to get bigger, stronger, more physical. But we want guys who are going to play for each other and be locked in, on both ends of the floor. So that's the focus, and it's going to continue to be.
Zach, trading stars away and losing to the degree that the team did this season can be difficult, I think, for fans and season ticket holders. Do you believe there's a level of trust that needs to be rebuilt with the fan base based on, especially given the postseason appearances in the years prior, and the way that this season and this rebuild has begun?
Yeah, I think that this is certainly the final stretch of the season, all of the transacting, like a tough season, from a fan standpoint, and I'm greatly appreciative of the patience. I'm greatly appreciative of the continued support. I think there's different ways that different fans want to engage with the team, and I think there's a lot of there's no one right way to follow the team. All we're doing is spending our time making sure that this team is in the best possible position, so that when we dive in next season and beyond, there's a product that the focus is and will continue to be putting the team in a position, a product on the floor that puts us in a spot to compete at the highest level of the NBA. But I think there's going to be a fun group here to kick off next season. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think it can be easy to kind of lose that when a season is where it is, but there's so many positives I think that came from this group. I think the group was really bought in on both ends of the floor. I think we're playing a brand of basketball that's going to be easy to identify with and get excited about. So again, to reiterate it, appreciate the patience, appreciate the support. Fans it's their hard-earned money, and of course they have a lot of different things they could spend that on. We don't take any of that for granted, and what we're going to do is continue to focus on our work so that we put this team in the best possible position going forward. but we're going to. And I'm confident that this is going to be a group that people rally around and get excited about going forward.
Just to start with some of the basketball lately, I think fans not only in Memphis but around the league sort of understand the incentives at play and some of the things we've seen the last couple months of the season. To what degree do you balance that, or did you think about the value of that versus the cost of diminishing the product on the court, not only for fans but customers over the last couple months?
Yeah, the focus for this, for this final stretch of the season, really, post deadline. We've tried to put this group in the best possible spot going into next season, and the focus of that starts on the court. There's a lot of players that are part of this group that we were able to put in different positions, put them in some that are that they'll be in next year, some that are challenging positions. I think there's opportunities for growth in all of them. I think Tuomas did an outstanding job getting that group to buy in, to compete every night, to take steps forward. A difficult context, certainly, and glad to go into any player who could be of particular interest. But I saw a lot of positives. I saw a lot of guys that kept focusing on attacking the day ahead of them, making the most of the opportunities, and just playing together on both ends of the floor. I think if there's one thing that stood out to me most over the last couple of months, is that the group stayed together. On both ends of the floor, they were really doing what they could to stay on a string defensively, share the ball, get good shots offensively, and I think because of that, we took some real steps forward that's going to put us in a good spot as we dive in next year.
Zach, obviously y'all went through a lot of injuries this year. In previous years you have too. Do you have a theory on what is involved in all of this? I mean, I know each case is individual, but as you look at all of this, is there a way to address it, and do you have a theory on why it happens?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into the space, certainly. I think it's a complex issue, and on all fronts, as we always do, we're self-aware, self-critical, and always looking for answers. We're going to do that as we always do this offseason.
Zach, you drafted 3 rookies and then picked up a 4th with Walt in the Utah trade. Just give us a sense of how they performed based on what you saw coming out of the draft.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of positives across the rookie class. I think, Sed did a great job making the most out of his opportunities. I think we've seen that he has the potential to be a highly impactful, player on both ends of the floor. It's a big offseason for Sed, and it's a big offseason for the entire group to really lean into everything that's planned from a developmental standpoint. But I have a lot of belief, in Sed and the player that he can become. I think Javon got more opportunity. He's one of the guys that probably played much more in the second half than the first half of the season. I think he showed a lot that likely will translate into being an impactful player, in the NBA. I think Jemai, as well, don't want to forget about him. I think he proved that he's a clear defender. He's got a clear NBA, not just skill, but an NBA side of the ball, on defense. And he's working as hard as anyone to continue improving other facets of his game. So encouraged by what I've seen across the board from the rookie class. Walt, I think he, as a playmaker, I think he did a really good job setting others up. I think the shot's going to fall. He has a really good track record as a shooter. I think that's going to improve over time. But I think he bought in and competed. And obviously not a rookie, but Taylor, who arrived in the trade with Utah as well. I think we saw a lot of encouraging things. I think we saw an ability to be disruptive defensively while staying within the team scheme. Certainly showed the ability to knock down some shots, keep the ball moving. We're excited about what we saw from Taylor Hendricks too.
Injuries have obviously been a key storyline over the past couple years. Aside from injury luck and stuff like that, from an organizational standpoint, is there a level of concern about the amount of injuries that this team is having, and is there anything that you guys can do, kind of broad strokes, to affect that?
Yeah, I mean, every season, we look at the entire operation and make sure that we're doing what we can, to put the group in the best possible spot, going into the following season, and we'll do that, this offseason just like we always do.
Zach, given what's happened the last couple of weeks with Brandon Clark and his situation, what have those conversations been like with him and the organization?
Yeah, I'll keep internal the particular, conversations that I've had with Brandon. It's certainly something that's been addressed, internally. That nothing else to say on. I can't comment on a pending legal matter.
Along that same line, just to address the main problem, main person that you've talked about. Will John Morant be a part of this team next season?
Yeah, I'll reiterate, Ja's been a pro. Ja's been a pro behind the scenes the last few months here. We've had open dialogue, we've had respectful dialogue. I think everyone's on the same page as much as they could be, in this situation. I'm not going to speculate on potential transactions though.
Or Zach, I know the statement on Zach Edey after the second surgery said a full recovery is expected. That said, he is a 7'3", 300-pound big man who's now had 2 surgeries on the same lower extremity in the last 12 months. What level of concern is there on that moving forward, and how much of a pillar can you count on him to be in the future?
Yeah, the prognosis is positive. Sure, yes, there were. It's not the season that Zach would have wanted, that Big Fella would have wanted. I thought he certainly made the most of the opportunity in I think it was 11 games that he played this year. Very impactful, certainly on both ends of the floor. And I know we wish he could have been out there, more. I know he's going to do everything he can to attack his rehab to put himself in the best possible spot. And yeah, thankfully we've been in the middle of this with several consulting experts, and it is a positive prognosis as we turn the page into off-season rehab plan and making sure he's in the best possible spot to dive into next year. But no, everything that we've talked about, everything that's out there holds true as of today.
We saw a similar kind of movie with Gigi 2 years ago when the season took a similar path with injuries and whatnot. Is there anything about his game and what he showed down the stretch here that makes you think that this time it's more sustainable and he can be a real contributor when you guys are serious about winning again?
I do. I think Gigi had a really encouraging season, especially after, the G League stint earlier, a little recalibration from there. For the last several months, I think Gigi has done a really, really nice job just attacking the day in front of him. Tuomas has really, pushed him and challenged him and been really direct with his feedback every day. And Gigi's showed up focused. He's playing with the intensity that Tuomas is looking for. And I think you've seen on the court, he's been able to be productive, on both ends of the floor within, the way that we're trying to play. So I give Gigi a lot of credit for taking that feedback to heart and pushing himself, excited for what's to come with Gigi.
Just how do you kind of evaluate the job that Tuomas did this season?
Yeah, I think under difficult circumstances in terms of transactions, there are a lot of players who are in and out, players who are available. Very impressed, under those circumstances. I think Tuomas has commanded the group and generated really significant buy-in, to play his style, which I think very much aligns with the direction that the league is going. He's been honest, he's been direct, he's been consistent with the group. I think the players have responded really well to that. And I think it speaks volumes that even, down the stretch of this tough season, we were in a lot of these games. We knocked off some difficult opponents. Guys were bought in and fighting and competing, to the bitter end of this one. So I give him a lot of credit, and I have a ton of confidence going forward in Tuomas.
You said after the trade deadline, you said we turned the page as much as we were able to at this deadline. How confident are you the organization can fully turn the page this summer, and what does that mean? What does turning the page mean?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on particular transactions necessarily, but I think we have a very bought-in group that's, Tuomas has a clear vision for what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. We have a group of young and mid-career, guys as well that are, I think, clear system fits and we're well positioned to build with, heading into the offseason. But I don't want to get into a particular who's in and who's out. Like we'll make decisions this offseason as we always do that put the team in the best position going forward.
Some of the other guys as well that you kind of picked up this year, particularly like Ty Jerome. How do you envision him as someone who potentially could have a future with this team beyond this offseason?
Absolutely. I think when Ty got on the court, I think it was 15 games, but that was a pretty sizable sample of Ty playing with, some real usage, a significant role, in the offense. And I think we were all impressed, of the balance that Ty was able to strike as a scorer and as a facilitator. He's a very good basketball player. So, of course, we see what he could be as part of this group.
Zach, why should the fan base be, I guess, encouraged that you can build a winner here quickly as you kind of go into this new build?
Yeah, I mean, I think difficult in the moment, right? I get it when you're watching a game and half the group's available and this and that. But I think if you zoom all the way out and you see the group of young players that we already have, coupled with having as many first round assets as nearly anyone in the league, as we're diving into an offseason where we have 2 firsts and a pick early in the second round as well, it's going to speak for itself soon.